Right matchup? Yeah, this is the right matchup. Okay. Spawning into the top right hand corner. Week 3 map. A black pink LE. The yellow Rodos pieces from daily life goes by the name of Damerfesk. And in the bottom left hand corner, the blue Terran pieces. ZZxB. I imagine this is ZZxuler, so we'll call him ZZxuler for now. Apologies if I got that wrong, which means Bird is in the top right hand corner. Now we're gonna go by Damerfesk because Damerfesk is a lot. I don't know. I like Damerfesk more as a name to be used. You know. So Terran versus Protoss. You know, our first non-mirror match here in this weekly recap from the Junior Star League. We do have a Terran versus Protoss on Black Pink LE. Now, TVP is a match that personally I've still been kind of struggling with, trying to find a means to an end, so to speak, to make sure I can, you know, handle Protoss effectively. But with the Chrono Boost changes, you know, actually affecting how like fast you can get Stalkers out and so forth, it does help balance out that matchup quite a bit. So you won't be seeing the Stalkers as fast as you normally would. You won't be seeing Oracles as fast as you normally would. But while it's still giving Chrono Boost that boosted effect over time, you know, I think we went down to like 50% for 20 seconds versus 100% for 10. So it definitely allows you to have more of that time factor. Damerfesk hiding his probe up here in the corner is very, very fishy, mate. As we do have a cybernetic score on the way. He's going to use it to scout. Now that'd be very interesting to see him throw down a couple gateways up here, because you can do it up here behind this mineral line very, very easily, as there is a lot of space actually right through here, which you see his probe get ready to use. Now this is a bit of a mind game from Damerfesk here, is he's going to get ZZxuler is going to get up here and see if there is a natural expansion, see if there is a gateway and a second pylon being added on this cybernetic core. So now he is just going to think, okay, well, this shouldn't be anything too crazy going on. This should be a very natural game. It looks like it will be. Damerfesk kind of mind gaming all of us. Going to go ahead and pull that probe back. I like the fact that you kind of hit that probe, so you can see exactly when his opponent decides to expand. And since there was no natural expansion on the way, he will assume that it will be like a Marine Cyclone push coming out here for ZZxuler, which exactly is what it looks like it's going to be. That one Marine going on a scouting mission, make sure there's nothing hidden around the natural base. Now, this actually has a lot of potential to be really aggressive. There's a lot of anti-air here in this Terran composition that will allow him to deal with any kind of Stalkers very, very easily. Deal with any kind of, you know, Oracles very, very easily. Void Rays. So he will be able to focus all that down. Now, Damerfesk, on the other hand, is getting a Robo. So, as a Terran player, what you want to be looking for is what your opponent decides to open with his Protoss. Obviously, now that's how it goes with any matchup. But more so, in the TVP matchup, you're looking for one main factor. A, the Robo. If there is a Robo on the way, you want to make sure you go ahead and start that starport. Now, he hasn't dropped any scanners. He hasn't scouted at all. This aggression coming out is going to be his scout. But this aggression is also here to try and get some damage done. Now, there are 2 Stalkers out here for Damerfesk, so he should be able to defend. Especially if ZZxuler doesn't watch the Cyclone. You know, the Cyclone gets picked off here. This aggression is over. Marine Cyclone is going to push up here. Going to start to batter down the shields on one of these Stalkers. Shield battery is on the way, but it won't finish up in time. He is going to lose one of these Stalkers. Now, there is a shield battery in the main, and ZZxuler will get up here, see the Robo, and he is going to start to focus down this Artosis pylon. I love this decision to do that, as it will stop the Robo, 2 gateways from building anything, but does not stop the Immortal from popping out in this Robo. It does shut down the shield battery, so he will be able to get in here and possibly clean up one Stalker, which he will do. And that should be all he gets out of this aggression. Now, he does know exactly what his opponent should be up to now at this point. So Stalkers, he saw a Robo, which means he now can go ahead into that tank production, into that starport, and get some air going. Make sure there's enough air there to knock down any kind of Immortals that walk in. Warp gate done? Warp gate's done. I was about to say, he needs to go ahead and warp his warp gates, so that he can go ahead and start to pour out his aggression as well, because this does look like it's going to be more of like a 3 racks, or a 3 gate Robo. He is going to want to push out here very, very shortly. What does he got going? There's no Twilight Council on the way just yet. Observer is going to make his way across the map for Damerfesk here to check out ZZxuler, just to see exactly what he has going on. Do I have these names backwards? I feel like I have these names backwards. ZZxuler. Yeah, ZZxuler's a Terran. Okay, we're good. Alright. Kind of a couple second guesses of myself there. Make sure everything is running the way it should be. The more Mortals, more Stalkers going to be added on here. Pile in here for a little bit of vision. Doesn't look like he's hiding too much tech just yet. So there's no Twilight Council on the way. Looks like he's going to go with just a Sentry Immortal Stalker type of aggression. And try and break the front. Now there are siege tanks here, and I would like to see a wall off for Terran. Somewhere in the natural just to kind of, you know, slow down the aggression that Protoss could put out. And make it more of a bottleneck for them to push up this ramp. If this much, like, space, all you do is pop Guardian Shield as Protoss, and you just walk right up the ramp and get on top of these tanks and get on top of these Marines very, very easily. And proceed to just knock them down. Twilight Council is finally on the way, so he is looking to tech up behind this aggression that's coming out. Now, this could be just enough to break the front of Terran. I mean, tanks are out, sure. But with the Observer here, you don't even need to go... Oh, yeah, with the Observer here, you don't even need to actually look up the ramp to fight. Now, this is going to be a rather interesting situation. Both players are moving out here, and it should meet in the middle of the map. Observer going to pop out of that surveillance mode. Follow up with the army here to try and keep up with this Terran army. Liberator! Liberator on command move or attack move across the map, but nothing to attack. Does wind up getting picked off for free, so no value coming back out of that Liberator. That's you know, maybe like a 1 mineral scout that did cost its life. You see that the Protoss does move out across the map. Now there are some Marauders, so there are some Cyclones in the mix here. Terran should be able to hold this very, very easily, especially if you had to bottleneck this. There's nothing on the production tab. Is there a Warp Prism out? No Warp Prism, but we do have a Gateway Explosion coming down here in a Forge, so we will be seeing some upgrades come out of Protoss. Looks like he's just going to go ahead and back up. He knows his opponent is indeed sieged up pretty well here on top of this ramp, so marching into these 4 siege tanks will wind up costing him some army very, very quickly. Now, one thing about the surveillance mode is a Terran. You can just easily find observers now. Like, if you drop a scan right now, you'll just pick, oh look! Observer. Liberator! Liberator! Operator! Why do you keep sacrificing yourself to these Protoss army? Just love the fact that Damerfesk is actually catching all these Liberators as they move out on the map here. And we do have Terran locative once you go for that 3rd base. He did end up killing the Observer, so he does have the ability to just load up, send this drop out. Hopefully this doesn't get picked off, because if this gets picked off, it's going to be disastrous. Damerfesk is going to go ahead and send a Warp Prism around to the main base by the looks of it. What's that Warp Prism? Where'd it go? Direction? I guess it changed direction. Another Observer is on the way. Did he keep it with the army? It would have been very interesting to see him catch this drop coming out with the Warp Prism. Now there is a 3rd base down here. This 3rd base should end up getting cancelled almost immediately here for Terran. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and cancel the 3rd. Keep that alive. He's going to go ahead and knock down the Sentry Tower here. Where did the drop go? Did the drop make it into the natural base yet? Drop taking the longest path ever to get around here to this natural expansion. But now there are tanks out. These tanks are actually rather out of position here. I mean, the Stalkers can easily just walk on top of this and blink. Blink's not done yet. So he can't just blink on top of the tanks and get rid of them. But he is going to have to go ahead and pull back. Clean up. And, you know, the drop in the natural base, it is getting some damage done. The Stalkers here too, defend. Someone's being trapped in the back, not able to DPS. Now the probes are going to surround as well and start adding in their damage. Now we do have some probe kills that did happen there. We have 6 probes dying so far. 4 swords being thrown down to try and bottleneck this Terran army. The Terran just going to pick up this army or drop and get on out of here. But the Stalkers, about to have blink down, are going to give chase to these medevacs. This isn't what you want to be doing, ZZxuler. As a Terran, you don't want to be sacrificing drops like this. Especially when your opponent is about to have blink. You're about to lose this entire drop, mate. Like, this isn't what you want to be doing here. Just get your drop out of here. Keep it alive. Keep them medevacs alive, most importantly. The army supply is in favor of ZZxuler right now, so if he were to move out with these tanks, he would be able to do some pretty good damage. But with Blink being done now in this TVP, and Stalker's doing a lot more damage to tanks. I just don't see his aggression really being able to do much here. It looks like ZZxuler is going to decide to push across the map, feeling that he got some economy damage done. Which, yes, he did. But Chrono boosts out some probes, and you're right back in the game. The Protoss. Damerfesk is going to get his third base up and running. Both players going to go head up to that third base. That free base economy going. Now, the third base is rather late for both players. I mean, they should have been down about the 9-minute mark, but ZZxuler's third originally got canceled. So he is having to rebuild that. It'd be a pretty good macro game from both sides, actually. Upgrades are on the way. +2 for Terran about to pop out here. He does have 1-1 in combat shields. No stim, very interestingly enough. I guess you really don't want to stim your units too much here against a Protoss. Now, Protoss is also going to out here. I guess he senses his opponent is on the map somewhere. He is trying to find his opponent's army. Stalker's being sent out, forces scouting information. Terran going to go ahead and siege up at the top of this ramp and try and force a fight to come up here into the third base. Now he has all his tanks bunched up, which makes him a lot easier to pick off for Protoss than just to blink up the ramp. Start to clean them up. It looks like he is going to knock down these rocks, or he's going to force the aggression on the low ground. Siege tank line going to start getting pushed forward. Now the Stalkers are going to swing around and catch these tanks from behind. You know, they are completely undefended. The backline, a blink forward is going to get on top of these tanks very, very easily. He's starting to clean up these tanks here of ZZxuler. ZZxuler kind of stuck in a concave on both sides, but the tank firepower in a +1, or that 1-1 combat shield from Terran doing work against his Protoss army, and that might actually have been enough to actually just kill him off here. The third base is going to end up dying. He's going to evacuate all these probes. And these Zealots were the only reinforcements warped in there for Damerfesk. He doesn't have any answer to these tanks really besides Stalkers he just lost. And if you would take it a couple more steps forward before you blink in. Hey, medevacs. Go help. There's a couple medevacs hanging out idle across the map. Now, ZZxuler will go ahead and pick up the third base here. He now is going to be ahead economically in base count on both sides. 99 army supply to 18. This is starting to look pretty sketchy for our Protoss player in yellow here to hold on. But yeah, ZZxuler continue to push forward here with some Cyclone reinforcements and a couple more tanks. Zealots with no charge are just going to get evaporated here to this 2-2 army, or +2 army of Terran. GG is going to get called out there by Damerfesk. He is just going to go ahead and tap out, giving ZZxuler the game number 1 win. Now we are going to go ahead and move directly into game number 2 in this TVP matchup of week 3 in the JSL. Should be in number 2. See exactly where they decided to go here. Looks like we're going to have game number 2 on Odyssey LE. It's spawning into the top left-hand corner. The yellow Protoss pieces of daily life. He goes by the name of Damerfesk. He's currently down 1-0 in this series to this man right down here in the bottom right-hand corner. The blue Terran pieces. He is currently teamless here on the North American server. He goes by the name of ZZxBX, otherwise known as ZZxuler. Now it looks like we do have a Reaper expansion coming out here for ZZxuler. Well, we do have this general gateway expand by the looks of it coming down here for Damerfesk. I imagine he's going to go ahead and get the Cybernetics core behind that. He's going to go ahead and start this gas. Wants to get them Stalkers, possibly them a Devs out to catch them pesky Reapers. He's going to go ahead and scout his opponent. Now, you're down 1-0 in this series. It's a best of 3. And as a Protoss, you do have the ability to very, very easily just proxy a couple gateways. Proxy maybe a Stargate. Try to catch your opponent off guard around the map somewhere. And on Odyssey LE, it is a very big map in which to do it on. Now, we do have ZZxuler going to go ahead and immediately wall off. This does delay your natural expansion a little bit as Terran. You have to wait for that extra 100 minerals to come back, but outside that, generally, okay, well, no problem. Not that big a deal. Now, I would like to see a Reaper play come out of here to scout his opponent. He is going to go ahead and open up with a Marine. Now, ZZxuler didn't scout much last game, and not having that Reaper in the army early on generally just kind of deflects any kind of early game information, especially when your opponent is going to go ahead and expand. Now, if this expansion didn't come down, there's a proxy, and you didn't like scout right away against a Protoss, you're going to be in a lot of trouble as a Terran, and the TVP matchup still just does not quite favor Terran. It definitely bounced out quite recently, but it still just is not quite in Terran's favor, especially in the late game. The way Terran had builds up their units in the early game, it's just, you know, quite difficult in the early game to kind of hold off some early game cheeses as Terran. Which is why the early game scout is critical. You have ZZxuler going to poke in here and see that his opponent is on 2 gas. There is a pylon missing. I have to tell that something might be up. I mean, you do have your second pylon down here in a natural, but there should normally be 2 pylons in the main right about now. Robo, go ahead and get added on. The Stalker going to come down here in case this SUV comes back. But he will be able to just go ahead and, you know, secure this expansion. Now, both players look like they're going to play a very similar style. We should see Cyclones start popping out of this factory. There you go. And ZZxuler is going to go ahead and push across the map. Behind it, with his natural coming down as well. This is a very solid opening against Protoss by the looks of it. As you are able to just immediately transition to getting tanks behind this. So as to hold off any aggression. Now, Damerfesk sticking to his guns and going into that Robo composition once again should be able to just kind of read into this deal. Yep. You pressured me with some Marines and a Cyclone last time in the early game. Get your scout off that way. Saw exactly what I was doing. You shouldn't be able to do that this time. He does have 2 shield batteries that should finish up before this aggression actually hits. It's going to be close. And as soon as these shield batteries finish up, there's no way ZZxuler gets any further up into the base here. And you will have to focus down the Stalkers, and just like that, guys, right back to full health. His shields. He will end up losing the first one. The second one will end up falling, with the Stalker or the Cyclone going to get cleaned up a lot sooner this time, and Marines just barely, as that shield battery runs out of energy, barely able to kill off that Stalker. He's going to get these 3 Marines and get a scout off on his opponent and see, oh, doing the same exact thing. Now, there isn't Artosis pylon, but with the fast warping of these Stalkers, this should get shut down before it gets cleaned up. So no real damage being done with this push. It was more or less just, you know, scout his opponent. Observer going to go ahead across the map here and get the scout off as well. You see that his opponent only has 1 tank out. 1 tank, a couple Marines, a natural base. It's just, you know, just fresh, just finished up. Got an idle SCV hanging outside it. Hey, SCV, get to work. Hey, you. Go mine. What are you doing? Go mine. Go do SCV things like mine minerals and build buildings. We do have another starport's being added on. We do have a second Rax being added on. Now, ZZxuler forgoed Stim last game. He relied on the upgrade advantage and combat shield to get what he needed done, as well as the tanks. So, let's see if he decides to forego Stim once again, or if he's going to go ahead and do the same exact thing, you know, just push out with that same exact composition. Or will he get Stim? Last time he did lose quite a few Liberators. Trying to get across the map, he does have +1 all the way. So far, I'm definitely liking Damerfesk's position a little bit more this game. He does have the Stalker count that didn't drastically slip. He didn't lose a lot of like gate pylons right away. You know, he stabilized a lot easier this time around. Now, game number 2, however, could definitely slip in his favor if he were to make a pressure out here very soon. Now, he does scout his opponent's army leaving. So ZZxuler is going to get scouted by the observer at Damerfesk, which means he is going to be able to push out here and meet the army or just defend. It looks like Damerfesk is going to defend very easily back here with these shield batteries. A couple Immortals to Stalkers and a couple Sentries. Guardian Shield going to be a huge factor in this. This is going to drastically reduce the DPS of this army of Terran. Looks like he's going to go ahead and gold base. I love this decision to go to that gold base. For a third, tanks are going to siege up, and it should just immediately get cleaned up here. And he's going to be able to pressure out, kill off these 3 tanks. And just like that, Terran's aggression is now done. I mean, once again, just not finding any damage, and Damerfesk is going to go ahead and march across the map. Why not? Because you Just saw your Terran's army, or your Terran opponent's army disappear. You have the army supply advantage now. And he has no tanks. He has 2 tanks. With Guardian Shield in the mix, you can push across this map very, very easily and just walk right up to the natural base. And there's not going to be anything here for Terran to defend with. There are no Liberators on the way this time to defend with, so nothing here to really zone out this Protoss army besides Stalkers. They just dance right outside the range of that siege tank. Here we go. The first Stalkers are going to get cleaned up. First tank also going to get picked up, but not for picking up 2 kills. That does reveal that there is indeed. Now you should be able to just skirt right around the siege tank range and get behind a natural base. Oh, very smart move here by Damerfesk. This is going to cost a lot of army on his part. He's not really finding any worker damage at all here. It's a very cute move there. Very cheeky move to try and slide in behind that natural base. But in the end, it does wind up costing him his army. Zealot also going to try and slip in here as there is a siege tank in position to deny that as well. Kind of an awkward position for Zealot to be in. He does pick up 1 SCV so far. He will pick up 2. And with the splash damage, he does pick up quite a bit of damage there. A couple of worker kills there. The friendly fire from the tanks. Now, Damerfesk did behind this take the gold base. So he is going to be able to enjoy a very amazing, like very aggressive economy boost that is going to allow him to be super aggressive. That's why I call it an aggressive economy game, because he's going to be able to enjoy that gateway explosion that he will be able to afford here. He's going to be able to enjoy getting more immortals, teching up into Robo. Well, he had 2 upgrades. He built 2 Twilight Councils. I would like, alright, if you're gonna do that, you get blink and charge at the same time. You know, that would be crazy. Like charge in and just blink with starters. Probe's going to get pulled here, but they are going to start to get picked off. He will pick off 1. He's going to go ahead and unpower this pylon. Now, this pylon is powering a lot of this Protoss base. A lot of this DPS is kind of bouncing around. Now, Stalker's trying to clean up this medevac. They don't have blink, but... Okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. Why the gold base is better? Not to ask. It's more minerals per drone, basically, yes. However, it's gonna be less workers. You mine 8 minerals per amount for rotation here. So whenever a probe goes across, mines a mineral, come back, it's 8 minerals per probe being mined. So it will give your economy a nice boost versus the 40 minerals a minute. I'm not gonna go ahead and try and do the math at that point. It's like 3 more minerals. Yeah, it's just a bad idea to try math on stream. Anyway, Terran going to get caught here. Storm's going to rain all over this Terran army, and this should just go ahead and cause him to tap out in game number 2. I would imagine. Scan being thrown down to say, where's the observer? Oh, there's the observer. As Damerfesk is going to go ahead and march across the map. Now, there's a little bit of bio left, a couple tanks. Maybe some positioning on these tanks, and he looks like he's just going to wedge him in here in this little, peninsula. You know, to try and catch his Protoss army. Planetary is on the way. Is it going to finish up in time? It is going to be able to just go ahead and get knocked down as well. Zealot's being picked off by the tanks on the high ground, but the economy damage is being done. So the Storm should come down here to clean up this bio. The Zealots who jump in here, he is going to storm some of his own Zealots, but the Planetary does end up falling. Our Terran player is trying to hold on here. I greatly respect that, but I mean, just lost your 3rd base mate. Your Protoss is on 3 with a gold. So he is just going to go ahead and back off now. And that is definitely a huge economy boost, especially as a Zerg player. If you go ahead and take that gold base, I mean, it's 8 minerals per drone, like we discussed. I mean, versus the 40 minerals that you would get from blue. Like, you get 5 per worker here, and each worker, I do believe, mines around 40 minerals a minute versus like gold. But keep in mind, the gold base has less saturation to it, so you will mine that out a little bit faster overall. But he's just going to enjoy this economy boost he does have from that gold and just be able to march units in here. Get on top of these tanks, start to clean up the Terran army once again. He will just shoot right through it. This should, again, once again, just go ahead and tap out Terran. I mean, there's not much you have left here. Your tanks are on siege. Charge is done. And the Zealots are just going to be able to jump right on top of these tanks, go right to the mineral line, and shoot right through the last of your bio. Desperately trying to get a 3rd base up here. Zor definitely trying to hold on. I mean, At what cost? I mean, you're running out of mineral here a lot faster than your opponent is. Your main base is about to mine out. You're down 4 workers mining there. You just lifted your natural. And your Protoss opponent is going to go home once again. Get more army out. Back up once again. He's going to that upgrade. I think we have +3. That's +2. Green is 2. Warp gates are done. He apparently didn't have these warp gates morphed. But he just now morphed them in. Which explains why his army wasn't really maxed out immediately. But again, as Protoss in this situation, you can obviously just go right ahead up to your Colossi, go right ahead up to, you know, more charge lots if you really wanted to just invest in the charge lots, especially when you have this much of a bank. That's 3,500 in the bank. I mean, at this point, you just dump them into Zealots and win the game. Dump them into more gateways, expanding it. He is getting another Nexus, so overall, Terran, I mean, it's going to be a long shot. He's going to need the Ghost in this composition to come back. I mean, he needs to EMP his Protoss army, make them have no shields so he can fight a little bit more on equal terms. Is that DT Blink? Resonating Glaives? Go ahead and start Blink. You have 2 Twilight Councils. Damerfesk. Go ahead and start Blink, mate. Just go ahead and get both. Interesting choice to go ahead into a Depths, actually. I guess he feels with the tank count being where it is. And these tanks being a factory, he wants to be able to get on top of these tanks at a more effective cost. So a Depth Shade will definitely do that for you. As it costs absolutely nothing to use a Depths to shade in. Besides what it costs to build the Depths. Now, Damerfesk is actually kind of smelling that his opponent might have a hidden 3rd or hidden 4th. He's going to go ahead and swing around to his gold base and make sure there's nothing here. Meanwhile, Terra's going to move out and try and find some damage of his own. However, with Recall being a factor here, he can just recall his army back. And just go ahead and kill his opponent. Otherwise, he can just base trade it. Looks like he will catch his army out in the open with some Adepts. And the Adepts are going to start to clean up some of these tanks. With Resonating Glaives, they aren't really going to be able to do that damage just yet. They normally would be able to. I mean, but in the end, Terran is just caught completely out of position here. Going to have to come home to these charge lots, which are going to be able to charge into his bio very, very easily. And just proceed to clean him up from there. I mean, that's going to be it here, guys. There's not much left Terran can do. He's going to siege up on the high ground. He does have a planetary as his only mining base at this point. Besides his main, which is not mining at all. Backraid is trying to get this fight back in front of this planetary. The planetary is just out of range. And with that, that's the last of the army we should see of Terra in the end, besides what we have in the main. Now this is going to prompt Protoss to push right into this 3rd base. Go ahead and kill it off because this planetary isn't going to be enough. He's not even trying to repair it. GG going to get called out. And Terran going to get knocked out for game number 2. It is going to prompt a 3rd game in this series of a TVP. A really good series so far. Both players trying to macro up and play a solid game all around. But in the end, it is going to go ahead and prompt a game number 3 PvP matchup. Now, I don't know who is going to win this in the end, as we are going to Ascension to Ire and spawning into the top left-hand corner on Ascension to Ire. The yellow Protoss pieces from Daily Life. He goes by the name of Damerfesk. And in the bottom right-hand corner, the blue Terran pieces. Currently teamless on the NA realm. Down or tying up the series here. We're making the series go to a 3rd game. Where do you put that? You know, it's 1-1. Anyway, he goes by the name of ZZxuler. Or here it's ZZxBX. Now, this is going to go to a game 3, which we are in here on Ascension to Ire. Just kind of repeating myself. We do look like we're going to see a very similar opening out of ZZxuler once again. Now, as your opponent, you realize charge outs were a great factor here. And on Ascension to Ire, it's also very, very easy to also, again, proxy a Stargate, maybe proxy some Robos. And proxy Robo does work against Terran very, very well. Just have to wait and see where Probius here heads off to. And decides to go ahead and build that first pylon or that first gateway across the map, you know. See what he decides. Now, ZZxuler also going to stick to his guns once again, and why not? All off. Was to go ahead and make sure that his opponent can't get in here to scout. Now, whenever you're a Protoss player or a Zerg and you see immediate wall off like this, that should just be a cue to say, hey, let's just elevate. Let's just get in the air and elevate around the wall. I mean, A wall stops ground, yes, but it does not stop air from flying over. SCV going to come out here and try and find where that probe went. Now they're apparently going to awkwardly have a conversation about the worker life before we do have some drilling and going on here with this probe. SCV trying to get out of here very, very quickly. Going home. Get stuff on the way. Cybernetics Core and a Nexus follow-up for Damerfesk. So looking like both players are sticking to their guns, not changing up their style, which is very respectful in that regard. So saying, yep, I know what you did, you know what I did. I mean, I could change it here, but what's the worth in that doing that kind of risk? Now, be sure to see some Cyclones popping out here from ZZxuler with the factory finishing up here. Be sure to see them on the production queue. Orbital Command Center is on the way. Shield battery is also being added on. Now, the SCV actually going to get here and scout this time. Maybe he thinks his opponent might do something a little bit different. So he will get in here and poke around his SCV. Now, this could also change up quite a bit of the game. I mean, you got in here and scouted with an SCV. What happens if you don't push out his Terran? Now, your opponent might expect you to push out again, especially since you've done that 2 games in a row very, very early with some Marines and some Cyclones. Now, if you keep your army back here, however, that's kind of a mind game. It says, okay, you scouted. Are you expecting some kind of aggression? Are you trying to like do some kind of cheeky play that you have to worry about that aggression coming out? Damerfesk is going to go ahead and throw down his robo, and his second gateway is normal. He is going to go ahead and play that macro game as well. Nope, it looks like ZZx is just going to go ahead and push out across the map once again. Now, there are shield batteries done this time, and there are already 2 stalkers out. A third one going to join the mix before they can make it across the map. To find any real damage, so this aggression, once again, should just get shut down. I mean, as Terran, this failed last time. Kind of worked the first time, and I guess that's why you're sticking to it. I mean, the Cyclone Marine push? Okay, sure. But now your Cyclone's hanging out very awkwardly, waiting for Marines. Marines are waiting on the Cyclone. Now, the Immortal is going to be on the way here. 3 Stalkers and a Dream. The only real difference between this engagement is there's 3 Stalkers and 1 extra Marine. That 1 Marine immediately going to get speared and just get taken out. They're trying to focus on the Cyclone. These Stalkers aren't getting picked off at all. 4 Stalkers out now. Marines are getting picked off. And I wouldn't be surprised if Damerfesk just continues his aggression across the map. He just cleaned up his opponent's army. I mean, the only thing he has out to defend is 1 tank, a very battered and bruised Cyclone. Looks like my rust bucket of a car outside. It's just being held together by zip ties in some cases. And some Marines. I mean, what else you got as a Terran? Who's adding on a reactor to his starport, so he is looking to get the medevacs out. Possibly get some Liberators this time. Liberators kind of failed ZZxuler the first game in the series, as he kind of just very awkwardly lost them. But I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to make a return. Now, Damerfesk is going to go ahead and add on a couple forges, add on a couple more gateways. Now, there's no goal base for him to really explode within economy-wise. So there is an option to do. So we're going to get in here about the normal timing and get in here to see what his opponent has for an army. Charge is on the way from that Twilight Council. This time we only have 1 Twilight Council. Apparently we have a Stargate. Alright, I like the decision of an Oracle. This is going to force Terran to be a little bit more on his toes. It might find some economic damage. Especially after he realized his opponent hasn't done any missile turrets anywhere. Hey SCV, you're back to work. Repair that Cyclone. Make him shiny and new. Now, this is a very interesting change up in the tech. This time with the Stargate coming out here for an Oracle. This could very easily transition to the Adept Phoenix behind this. I doubt it will, but it could. Which is interesting enough. Adept Phoenix might actually do really, really well in this meta right now. 1-1 is on the way for Protoss. We do have +1 and Concussion Shell on the way for Terran. Now, again, ZZxuler also forgoed getting Stim quite a bit. And that's something as a Terran you really shouldn't ever do, because it just increases your damage output on your bio, like, drastically. Now this Oracle can get in here and find some very free damage. I mean, but turn on that Pulsar Beam, get to work zapping these SCVs down. 2, 3 so far, 4. There's the 4th. Now, if 5th. He's focusing down to Orbital. You keep that Oracle alive, mate. Just find a little bit of economic damage. And now, it used to be this Oracle would just fly in here and just zap, 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 but there goes 6 SCVs. But now, 5 Marines can very easily hold off against 1 Oracle, and the Oracle's damage was indeed nerfed, so... runs out of energy there. Hey, Karen, please, get your SCVs back to work. I think the nerves are starting to break down on the Terran player here. Does have about 12 SCVs idle there. Just realize that. It's going to send them back to work. There's 14 SCVs in total. Now, it looks like Damerfesk with charge finished up here, and 1-1 about to finish up as well as Resonating Glaives. Looks like he wants to pour on the aggression. Wants to be that guy who pushes across the map, you know, F2A clicks of Protoss as he starts to have the bigger and better army here. As ZZxuler is going to go ahead and load up for another drop. Now, this is one of them things that gets kind of very sketchy, especially when your opponent just scouted it. The observer does see this drop coming out here. He is going to go ahead up around the north side of the map and try and find some damage. Now, he could easily just, you know, put down a couple cannons maybe, you know, warp in a couple more stalkers to defend. But for 2-2 on the way, I don't see the damage getting much done here for Protoss or Terran. Is just going to go fly, boost right on in here and make this drop happen. Third base behind this for Protoss, however, so he is looking to be aggressive and expand. Has 3 adepts all the way across the map. Going to get in here and try and shade in to find some damage. Oracle just kind of hanging out. Bad. Keep yawning. I don't know why. Guess I'm lacking caffeine. A Phoenix out here. I love how this drop did just like skip right by this Phoenix. We do have Adept Phoenix kind of coming into play here. I mean, the drop going to get here, start finding some probe damage. The economy damage is getting done, though. Pylons being focused down right away. He's not focusing down the pylons and upgrading anything and powering that one Stargate on the north side. I guess it wasn't powering anything at all. Just a little bit of supply damage. Now, as with Adept Phoenix, this is where things get really annoying as Terra trying to drop. Because in the end, you just have to like tech into Widow Mines, and you know, that's about all you can really go for. As he's not really focusing down any of the probes either. So this drop for ZZxuler really isn't going to get much done. I wouldn't be surprised if Protoss goes ahead and moves out here. I mean, what does he have back home? ZZxuler has a total of about 7 tanks of his name. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 tanks. A couple idle SCVs. You know, some Marines hanging out there. You get these SCVs back to work. Even if it oversaturates your main mineral line, you get them back to work. Get them mining. Get some gas coming from them. You know, just do something. Those SCVs. There's so many SCVs just hanging out, mate. Like, come on. Don't really see any probes hanging out. Third base is down and is being saturated for Damerfesk. He's just gonna max out here very shortly and just push across the map. Is that 400 APM spike warping in some more depths. Here we go. We are going to push out across the map. Now, the composition of Damerfesk here is probably the most crucial thing you're going to note about this army. Is the Phoenix and the Adepts. Now, the Adepts can shade in here. The Phoenix can fly in and pick up these sieged up tanks. They're going to move out. You don't want to be moving out here as Terran. Like, you need to defend on the high ground and make sure you can crush this army at least once before you get caught out in the open. Now, the Depths are going to get caught here. A couple of Depths getting awkwardly picked off, not really finding any real damage from them. He's going to shade and try and keep them alive. Split them up a little bit. I like the idea to split them up. I mean, he does kind of mess up the shade a little bit. Keeps 3 back. Going to get in here and might pick up a tank for one of them. There we go. He does pick up 1 tank so far. Trying to find some bio. A tank for some few Adepts. Alright, you did find a little bit of damage. Now, I would have kept him with this army personally and just, you know, push across the map with that army. And shaded in on top of the Terran tanks and use the Phoenix to also pick them up and just make it just bio versus your Protoss army. I mean, your charge lots at 2-2 are just going to chew right through your Terran opponent. Terran's army is actually really, really scary right now. A lot of tanks and some bio. I mean, there is some anti-air with this army, so there is quite the potential to do quite a bit of damage. The tanks look like they're going to start to siege up one at a time, maybe. Nope. Going to get here and start lifting up these tanks with these Phoenixes. That's just probably going to awkwardly kill off the Terran As Charizard's going to be able to jump into the mix now. Oracle going to get picked off, but with the Charizards here, if Phoenix is lifting up the last of these tanks. Tanks are playing, bro! This Damerfesk is going to clear out the last of this Terran army out of the map. Which should prompt him to go ahead and move out across the map. Now, third base is done for Terran. There's no planetary here. He's not morphing it to an orbital, and he's not mining from it. So he really does not have the money at the moment to really be doing anything. Another SCV transfer out of the main base. I mean, you still have some mineral here you can mine. This isn't mined out. It's really not the most effective mining at all. But here we go. Protoss going to march up this ramp right into some siege tanks. And we might get pushed back for now, except these Phoenixes are just going to fly in here and pick up the tanks. And that's how it goes in TVP, yo. When Phoenixes are in play, your tanks are useless. And tank transition, or tank swap being like the best choice here. As the last of the Terran army does get cleaned up. Now, there are Phoenixes to answer the tanks. But that takes away from your bio. That takes away from your army on the ground that can be answering the rest of this Protoss aggression. Just to answer some Phoenixes. I mean, the Phoenixes are also going to be able to knock them down very, very easily. Carriers are also being added in as well back home for Damerfesk. So the army of Damerfesk is growing more and more. You're going to check for the fourth base. Check up here in the corner for a hidden expansion. But just go, mate. I mean, there's nothing here for your opponent to defend with. You just force him to bleed out a lot of army supply. Looks like Damerfesk does realize that. He's just going to go ahead and march across the map now. Now, ZZxuler is in a very bad situation, guys. There's no doubt about it. This is the last game he could possibly make the win for the series. And a Terran heart does ache the way he handled this game quite a bit. There's a lot of mistakes, leaving SCVs idle, getting a late third, not really getting any damage done with these drops. The one drop he did do. And as a tip, as a Terran player, just say, like, if you lose a drop, or you start losing out, your drop is dying off, just leave the bio, take the medevacs, and get them out of there. Those are the key units there. You want the healing factor to stay alive throughout the game. Your bio can be traded out very, very easily. Interesting decision to bring this army back here. I mean, you have more than double your opponent's army supply at this point. There's really no reason for you to sit back. I guess you want to max out. Alright, sure. I mean, you're basically already there. It's 172 RE supply, or supply total. You're the lovely 48 RE33, so it was about, I don't know, 81 of your opponent. So, I mean, there is definitely some aggression that needs to be done here. On both sides, to try and find some damage. Still gonna walk in here, see that there is a base. He lifted his main down to this third. Get some mining done. The Zealot gonna get on top of this tank for free and clean it up. Awkward moment when you can't shoot down as a Zealot tank. Or being in siege mode. Now these Phoenixes are just gonna go ahead and pick up all the tanks in the back line. That's why they weren't even sieged. A good call there, but GG. And that is gonna be it for our blue Terran player, as Damerfesk does secure that 2-1 lead for week number 3. Be right back with you guys for another series. We're going to move into Group D.